Hi, in this video, I am going to go over the topics that you will find in the AZ-304 exam, as well as the tools that I use to study, and then I will finish up with the exam logistics. So this would include the types of questions that you would expect in the exam. Okay, so I've opened up the AZ-304 syllabus from the Microsoft website for the Microsoft Azure Architect Design. And if I just scroll down, you will see one section that is named Design Monitoring. And honestly, within this section, what came up for me mostly was Azure Monitoring and Azure Logging, so how to configure this. So moving on to the second section, which is worth 25 to 30%, you really need to understand Azure AD. And this is because from my experience, a lot of the questions that I had was related to Azure AD. Access management is another important topic to understand, as well as management groups. So yeah, just ensure you understand all of that good stuff. Then moving on to design governance, tagging, Azure policy, Azure blueprints, all of that I already knew based off experience and other exams. So just ensure you understand how they work, how to configure them, blah, blah, blah. And Azure Resource Graph came up too. Key vaults, managed identities, all of the usual stuff. Um, so just refresh unless you're learning it for the first time. Moving on to design data storage, there were a load of questions related to Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, and Azure Data Lake. So make sure you understand that. Then as well as storage access solutions. Moving on to design business continuity. Um, what came up here was geo-redundancy of workloads, high availability, Azure backup. Yeah, all of that came up. And then moving on to design infrastructure, um, what came up here? A lot around networks and connecting to on-premise, load balancing, solutions, and um, yeah, this is what I can remember, as well as Azure automation, Azure pipelines, logic apps, all of this, and ASR as well. But yeah, those are the main topics that came up in the exam. As you can see, quite a lot um, from what we just covered here. So just make sure you are prepared. Okay, so you're now probably wondering what tool did I use? Now, I used Cloud Guru. For AZ-303, it was okay, but for AZ-304, I found it, for me, helpful. As you can see, there's a range of topics that are covered, and yep, need to learn about networks. Networks is in there. Storage, very important. Um, Design a compute solution, so microservices, containers, then design a database solution, data integration, migrations come up in the case study, governance, there were a couple of questions on governance, logging and monitoring, backup, loads of questions on those two topics there. High availability, again, cost optimization, they always ask a question, what is the cheapest solution? Security, and then it has a practice question, set of questions at the end, and these were very helpful. If you don't find those exam questions, those practice questions helpful, then there is another tool that you can use for practice questions, and that is obviously WizLab, which is quite popular. And I didn't use WizLab, but I know WizLab can be good for Microsoft questions at least. Maybe not, definitely not Terraform. Um, and yeah, you can try the free test, which has 15 questions, and if you're happy with it, then you just make a purchase. I think it's around £10. Sometimes there are offers and discounts on the web portal, and yeah, you get four other practice questions, which have about 55 questions. In terms of the actual exam, there were around 60 questions, consisting of multiple choice and scenario-based questions. So questions where you would pick either one answer or one or two or three answers. There's also drag and drop and you have to put the answers in order. In terms of labs, there are no labs, which makes sense because it's an architect exam. There are, though, two case studies. Oh, sorry, one case study at least. For me, I had one case study which consisted of 5 questions, and the case study was related to migrating some of your infrastructure from on-premise to the cloud. Whereas some other people had another case study, so they had two case studies, and they're quite lengthy in terms of what you need to read, so make sure you have time to prepare for um, all of the questions in the exam in relation to the time.